Hi guys, I'm gonna try this again. I don't know what's happening to the phone today. I think I need a new phone. My phone is ancient. It's like an 11. I'm like centuries behind, but I've refused to get one. So we were talking about, I'm gonna cover the things that I normally get asked about the most. Protein is number one. Jay has a cup and a half of oatmeal every morning. I'm giving you an example of how plants can be loaded with protein. You don't necessarily just need the animal. And for him, it's whole rolled oats, and it is a cup and a half. So he has 1 cup is going to have about 11 grams of protein. So he has a cup and a half, so that's going to be about 17 grams of protein. And he makes it with soy milk. So our soy milk per 8 ounces is 12 grams of protein. So he takes about, it takes about 8 ounces to make his cup and a half of overnights. So right there, he already has the 30 grams of protein just with breakfast. Now it is a carbohydrate loaded breakfast that he's having. However, it is a complex carbohydrate breakfast. So that is leading me to the next thing that people always ask me. People always ask me, and you guys that are on, please let me know if you can't hear me, because I was having microphone issues before. So the prior video, the microphone wasn't working. Hopefully we don't get disconnected because we're on the road. So that leads me right into the next question that we always get. Well, do you have carbs? Do you have sugars? Yes, we do, but we don't have refined sugars, and we don't have simple carbs. And what do I mean by that? Simple carbs are the crap foods that you see in the grocery store that are processed, that are made with white. Just eliminate white from your diet. Eliminate white flours, eliminate white sugars, eliminate refined sugars.
Anything enriched.
Anything enriched,
Rice.
Anything that says the word enriched, including rice, including pastas, anything that says the word enriched or white, eliminate it and change it for something that your family can enjoy that is a whole food. So this lifestyle is about putting pure, real food into your family, onto your family's table. What you want to do is everything that you're presenting on dishes to your family, make it so that it is the most nutritious that you are providing for them, not a void of nutrition food. So if you're giving your kids mac and cheese, instead of buying the enriched white pasta macaroni, buy the whole wheat or a red lentil or a yellow lentil or any other type, brown rice, any other type of whole ingredient that makes up that macaroni. Whichever one that you experiment with by trying different brands, going to different grocery stores, finding out which ones actually are a hit with your family. So it's a little bit of a learning curve. I went to a lot of different grocery stores checking out the things that we most purchased for our family, and I substituted them for whole ingredients. That's how, when we began, we cleaned out our fridge, freezer, and pantry, and we started over with just whole ingredients. So my peanut butter went out the window, and I bought a whole peanut butter, which means that it didn't have oil, it didn't have refined sugar, and it doesn't have sodium, and it doesn't have any sugar, not even a whole sugar. It's just made with peanuts. Your family won't be able to tell the difference. If you're using peanut butter for them on peanut butter sandwiches, they're not going to be able to tell the difference of that peanut butter. It's actually, when you eat this way, within a couple of weeks, your tongue starts tasting the chemicals and the fakeness of the food in our grocery stores. Once you've cleaned your palate of those fake foods, when you have taken the fake foods out of your pantry, you will learn that when you do ever have a food that is made that way, or like if you were to have a macaroni cheese or whatever, it's not going to taste as rich and delicious as the nutritious whole food one. So another, so one of the, going back to the protein, I just want you guys to remember that all plants have protein. So when people say, well, how do you get your protein? Animal is not what provides all of our protein content for our meals. Even if you are omnivore eaters and you are eating animal, that is not what is providing your quantity of protein during your day. Plants also provide a lot of protein, and there are some plants that have a lot of protein content. Now, how much protein do we need in a day? Unless you're a bodybuilder, you just need to go on the American College of Lifestyle Medicine website. They have a .org website, and you can look at the recommendations of a normal protein enriched lifestyle according to your age and needs. If you are older, you might have different needs of protein. If you're having surgery, or if you're recuperating from surgery, or if you are a bodybuilder and you're working on building muscles and stuff, you might need more protein. But like, to give you an example, I only need for my body 48 grams of protein. And most people out in the internet and social media and do research off of, the internet are being told, I need 100, 150 to be able to build muscle and this and that. That might be for a bodybuilder, but not a normal person that is living a life of lifestyle eating through the whole foods and plant-based, or even if you're eating animal plus exercising. And I do weightlifting, but I do light weightlifting. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm doing it to tone my body. So I only need 48 to 50 grams of protein per day. So I calculated it with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine recommendations. And so, but is it something that I'm counting every day and making sure that I'm eating it? No, because I know that if I'm doing my plate balance, and that's the next item, people ask me, well, how do you lose the weight? What do you do to lose weight? So right now I'm trying to maintain, but I did it through two ways. I have a plate balance where I maintain my weight, and I have a plate balance to lose weight. So in order to lose weight, I take the plate and I divide it in three, and I have one portion is going to be my protein and my legumes. Another portion of my plate is going to be the starchy vegetables, and the biggest portion of my plate is going to be non-starchy vegetables. A lot of cruciferous vegetables, all the non-starchy vegetables that I want. Sometimes I don't even put it on the plate. I make a giant bowl on the side, and that becomes my the biggest portion of my meal. But I always make sure that I have my beans and my legumes, and that I do have the starchy veg, because the starchy veg also help you be satiated. We eat a lot of the things that we felt like we couldn't eat before. People always say, well, can you eat carbs? People that are diabetic. I was already a diabetic, but not on medications. Jay was a diabetic and he was on medications. And a lot of people that are diabetics are saying, but do you eat carbs? Yes. And in the beginning, when we started, we did. It's not like we didn't eat them until we got better and got off he got off medications, and I reversed my diabetes and he reversed. No, during the whole process of losing weight and trying to reverse our diseases, we were eating a ton of carbs and sugars. The key word is not refined sugars, nothing white, nothing that wasn't whole, and always complex carbs. So you can Google what complex carbs, what plants are complex carbs, what foods are complex carbs, like the pastas. Just think, take out the white, take out the refined, and buy stuff that only says whole or says the whole ingredient. Sometimes you're going to find that it's not going to have the word whole, so you have to read the ingredients and just make sure that it's made from the plant that you're trying to purchase. So if I'm buying a pasta and it says that it's made from red lentil, it might not say whole red lentil, but it's going to say red lentil pasta, and I know that that is the ingredient that it's made with. And I'm going to make sure that it doesn't have sugars or oils or added butters or anything like that, or any sodium content. So those are the things that you need to look at. So if you go onto my page and you look at our plate balance and you put in the word plate balance, you can see the plate that I personally use to lose weight and the plate that I use to maintain weight. Now, my plate is different than Jay's. My plate to maintain is his plate to lose weight. It's a little unfair, but it's the way that it is. So you have to also be aware of that. You can't be like, well, hubby and I or kids and I can eat the same. You need to play with it and find which plate helps you lose. You will know. And I think that the plate that I have for losing weight is one that most people can probably lose weight with because of the way that it's diagrammed. And if you make sure that your plate is mostly filled with cruciferous veggies and non-starchy veggies, you're going to lose weight without having to count, without having to track. I don't count and I don't track. This is the first time. So that's the next part of the question that people ask me. People always ask me, do you count? Do you track? I don't. The only thing that I make sure of is what I have said, that I have whole ingredients, that it doesn't have sodium, it doesn't have refined sugars, it doesn't have oils in it. And then I just look at the saturated fats. If it is something that's like a tofu or something that I'm purchasing, I look at the saturated fats, and we do keep a tab on how many saturated fats that are plant that we have, like nuts, nut butters, coconut milk, avocado, those things we do have, and olives. We do have those things. However, we limit them and we're mindful about them. So we are very aware of how many we're eating throughout the week. And it's not like we're going to be having avocado toast every morning. We are going to be enjoying an avocado, but not every morning. We're not going to be using coconut milk for everything. We might make a curry every once in a while, but I haven't even made it because you can use soy milk with coconut extract and have the same effect as coconut milk, so I haven't even done it. But I do sometimes use shredded coconut in my soy yogurt. I dust my soy yogurt on top with it, or I might put it in one of my puddings. But I'm mindful of how many plant saturated fats. So am I counting them? No. I'm just mentally kind of keeping an eye on how many saturated fats, but I don't count. That's the beauty of this lifestyle. It's the first time we tried everything. Atkins, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, what else? Keto,
blah, blah, blah.
You name it, we tried it.
Fixes the problem.
None of them fixed his medical issues. I can tell you that I lost a ton of weight on Weight Watchers, and I was able to keep it off for, I think, probably around 2 years. And I'll tell you what the problem with Weight Watchers for me was. I had to constantly be counting. I had to constantly know what my maintenance points were. And I was always calculating in my head. So I never had a peaceful lunch, dinner, or existence, because I was always counting in my head what I was eating. And that is a miserable way to live. So I say now that we have the food noise is gone because I'm not constantly counting. I'm not thinking about food constantly because I'm satiated. And also the food freedom. We eat the things that we felt guilty about eating before. Before, we felt guilty about eating dessert. We felt guilty about eating carbs, rice, all the things. Jay can tell you he lived with medications for diabetes, and he couldn't have anything that was carby, or so we thought, because all of the doctors that he had ever been to said limit your carbs, limit your sugars, limit your animal, and only have lean animals. So that is how he lived. That is how I lived, because I was constantly dieting, and so was he. And we were watching his diabetes, and now we don't live that way. If we want to have dessert, we have dessert. If we want to have potatoes, we have potatoes. If we want to have pasta, we have pasta. We want tacos, we have tacos. If we want curry, we have curry. If we want fried rice that's Chinese, we have it. Am I mentioning restaurants? No, because we're making it at home, and we're making it better than the restaurants because we're overloading it with delicious stuff. So you're going to make your lifestyle to where you're craving your own foods. And if you do go to a restaurant, you can order those things, and then just make sure that they overload them with the veggies and not the animal, and that you are having them. We just left a restaurant right now where we ordered sides, and we had a side of broccoli on the table, and we had a side of red potatoes, and we had a sweet potato, and we had a big giant salad. And so you can make it, even when you go to a restaurant, side dishes are your friends. Add more. Don't just limit yourself to the dish that you might have found. This restaurant particularly had a portobello wrap that had tomatoes in it, and grilled portobello mushrooms and spinach. So they had choices, but if they don't have choices, sides are your friends. So we just ordered as many sides as we wanted, and I wanted more potatoes, so we ordered more red potatoes. Those were things that before would have been like, oh my gosh, we've had too many potatoes, we've had too much pasta, we've had too much rice. And you shouldn't eat with guilt. You shouldn't eat tracking. You shouldn't eat doing the math. You should just eat. We just eat. And it's all about the whole foods. What you put in your pantry, what you're cooking, the dishes that you're making for your family. Now, your family is used to the dishes that they're used to. So you can turn those dishes into whole foods, plant-based dishes. So what I did is, instead of presenting to my family, oh, here's the mac and cheese now, the plant-based mac and cheese, I didn't want to do, Jay in the beginning, he would say, what is that? And I would say, it's just food. And he was like, no, what is it supposed to be? And I was like, it's not supposed to be anything. It's just supposed to be yummy food. Because we go from the omnivore SAD diet to the whole foods plant-based diet, and we're thinking, oh, well, what about mac and cheese? What about burgers? What about, tacos? What about enchiladas? All of that stuff you can make whole foods plant-based, and you can make it taste delicious. Fajitas, all of it. But you don't want to be sitting there going, well, here's this version mac and cheese. Just make yummy food. If you are not ready for taking out animal, take all your side dishes and make them into plant-based side dishes and make them more nutritious. You're only going to be improving your family's health. You're going to be improving your kids' health. You're going to be teaching them how to break the generational cycle of the sad foods that are in our grocery store. The foods in our grocery store are manufactured. Look at the ingredients in them. They're not real food. When they've added all these things to them, they are no longer the real whole food that it was supposed to be. So cook to your family's profile, but don't replace and say, here's the new mac and cheese, here's the new tacos. That's kind of what we did. We just cooked the things and the flavors that we like, and we made them into dishes that were going to be nutritious. So same thing when you start going out to restaurants. We picked places that we knew that we could choose, whole foods and plant-based, like Thai places and or places that had veggie burgers, or Chinese, or a sushi. All of those places will have very good choices for whole foods and plant-based. The other thing is, people ask me, well, did you exercise to lose the weight? And I like to answer this way. We took 2 months or so to focus on the nutrition and learning what nutrition had to go on our plate, not for losing weight, because we did not begin this lifestyle for losing weight. We began this lifestyle for health. So we spent 2 months learning how to do the nutrition without focusing on the exercise. And then once we started losing weight without even knowing that we started feeling so good. Within 3 weeks, we were feeling energy that we hadn't felt before. Before, we felt lethargic and always tired, and we didn't have strength. And 3 weeks in, without even exercising, we had so much energy and we felt so different that we wanted to exercise, but we still waited to get a handle on our nutrition and cooking and the things that we were putting in our body. And then we started focusing on exercise, but we changed it. We used to go to the gym, and we used to do cardio, and I used to do Pilates and yoga, and we would do machines. And this time, the focus we still do those things, but we put the focus on weight training. So building muscle, so that now that we were losing the weight and the weight was coming off, so that the fat is leaving your body, we were trying to build the muscle in replacement of that. And what happened was we started getting stronger, and things that we were noticing that were a problem before. And this is funny because I don't feel like, in my head, I've always felt young, but putting on my underwear was a balancing act, and I had to hold on to the wall or whatever. And now I can sit there and balance on one leg, and for underwear putting on, I can bring in the groceries like I used to when I was younger, where I would put 5 bags per arm and get them all in one shot. Lifting suitcases we were doing together. He would help me I would help him, and we would together put the suitcases in the car, or opening even jars and stuff like that had become an issue. So all of those things are now, we are strong. We are stronger, I think, than when we were younger. So that is very important. We'd always looked at weightlifting like, you have to be a bodybuilder and you have to be, one of those guys in the gym. No, this is about, I started with 2-pound weights, and I was just carrying them when we were going for a walk. And then it just builds up from there, because the next time when you go lift those 2-pound weights, you're like, oh, these don't weigh anything. And then you're going to want to go to the 3-pound weights and the 5-pound weights. And you're just going to slowly be building more. So, and you're going to notice that you're stronger. You're going to notice your energy. Yesterday, we worked out. We did a routine at home. And sometimes we do YouTube videos. I like Carolyn Jervin from her YouTube series. She has a lot of different choices. It does not mean that you have to be Carolyn Jervin, because when you see her, she's intimidating. She is ripped. She has muscles she has muscles. But what I did is I would choose a YouTube, I would say, let's focus on arms or let's focus on abs. And we would choose it and we would do as much as we could. And she would say, I use 15-pound weights or 20-pound weights. If we couldn't do that, we would do it with 2-pound weights or 5-pound weights, whatever you can do. Don't be intimidated by what's happening on there, on the video that you're watching. Just do as much as you can. It's about getting you in a routine. So the other thing that we do is we do different types of exercising. We'll hike, we will go to the gym, we'll go do the machines. But I try to, either way, if we're hiking, I bring my hand weights. Jay will do his he's got a body weight, and he's got ankle weights, and or he'll put a backpack on with weights. I will bring my hand weights. When I'm in the gym, I'll go to the weight section and I'll grab a free weights and I'll go on the treadmill and I'll just walk. And at first, when I began, I walked with the weights just down at my sides. And now I will move my arms and do actual exercises with the weights. I didn't do that when I first started. So just go slow, but build that strength for yourself so that if you're doing this lifestyle, you're not just focusing on losing weight. You need to also focus on the strength part. You need to focus on the balance part. You need to focus on it's for your longevity, for your old age, for making it the best that you can. For Jay, what things do you like eating with your, because a lot of people are like, well, what do you guys eat? What are the things that you most like eating in this lifestyle?
Besides my overnight oats every morning,
yes,
which I'm addicted to.
And I'm addicted to my soy chia yogurt.
I love black bean wraps. I love tacos. I love like stir fry veggies with some rice. I don't want to call it fried rice because we don't fry the rice. I love air fried potatoes, baked potatoes, steamed potatoes. And those were things that I couldn't. I used to not be able to eat. And now I can, and now my blood sugar in the next morning is always good, and that wasn't the case before. What else do I like? Everything you cook, pretty much. The musubi wraps the other day were fantastic. They had a lot of edamame in them, and had the flavor profile of like a hand roll from a sushi place, but they had all veggies in it, and that was fantastic. Like for Thanksgiving, you made like a cornbread stuffing that was fantastic.
And the stuffed acorns.
And the acorns, yep.
And we made sweet potato casserole.
Yep.
We made basically all the side dishes that we used to do for Thanksgiving.
Hummus. I love hummus.
He loves hummus. He loves hummus and veggies.
We put a lot of hummus in things. Like, so we'll take like a baked potato or usually a sweet potato and put hummus in it. And then sometimes some black beans on top of that. And that is a protein-packed, complex carbohydrate meal. And it's amazing. And very filling. What else?
So what I was saying, for Thanksgiving, I took all the recipes that we normally made. My favorite is my sweet potato casserole from Sad Food, and green bean casserole was his. And so I did all, and we did a crawfish stuffing. And so this time we took out the crawfish, but I used all the same ingredients, and I just made sure that it was whole ingredients, and obviously took out the sodium and oils. And we did the green bean casserole. It was all a whole food green bean casserole made with soy milk, but it had a creamy sauce just like a regular green bean casserole would. Sweet potato casserole, same thing.
Stuffed portobellos.
Stuffed portobellos. We did the stuffed acorn. We had stuffed acorn squash. So we had a ton of dishes and a ton of new dishes that we were trying. But we also converted our regular family dishes that we were used to for Thanksgiving, and we made them whole. And guess what? I'm telling you, I preferred them to the sad ones, because by the time we had Thanksgiving, we had been on whole foods and plant-based for a while, and anything that wasn't whole food and plant-based tasted chemical now to me, and it just tasted and I'll give you an example. We went to a fair one time when we were first beginning, and I had brought hummus and veggies and fruits and snacks and all these things, pita bread, all these things to take to the fair, because it was like a music festival. It was like a music concert, and it was like in the afternoon. It was going to go until like 10 o'clock at night. And we ran out of food because we stayed longer than what we thought we were going to stay. And then towards the end of the evening, we were like, okay, let's choose the most appropriate thing that we can find. And the only thing that we could find was a veggie burger, which ended up being delicious. But it came with sweet potato fries. Now, the sweet potato fries qualified, but they weren't air fried. They were fried in oil. And I had them, just a little bit of them, and I was so sick, and it tasted so salty. When I woke up the next day, my entire body was swollen. The inflammation had taken, even my face was puffy, my fingers, my rings couldn't come off. I felt horrible. My stomach felt horrible, and it just showed me what the sad foods were doing to my body. And I hadn't even enjoyed the sweet potato fries because they were so salty. They weren't necessarily oily. I didn't taste the oily, but they were so salty I couldn't even enjoy them. So I only had a couple of them, and maybe a small handful. But they made me that sick. So it is something that when you're living this lifestyle, you will notice. You will notice what those sad foods do to your body, and you will notice just how they're not real food. They're manufactured food, and you'll start noticing, and it'll connect with your head that what you were buying before wasn't real food. It was manufactured food. So this is not about being vegan. This is not about being vegetarian. This is purely for health, and this is purely about using real foods again, and making sure that you're taking out the chemicals, the salt, the sugars, the oils that they use to make them addictive, and that's why you want to go to them. I can tell you that I don't have cravings of the old foods that might have given me cravings before. And the only time that I ever notice that I might have a craving is if I don't satiate. So if I am not eating enough, so this is also not about deprivation. This is about eating. We eat a ton. A lot. And I should have taken a picture of what we had for lunch, because the waitress was like, we kept ordering, and she was like, are you going to eat all this? And we did. We finished every last morsel. So we eat a ton. This is not about deprivation. But it's about the right things. So if you eat a ton, you're eating the right things in the right plate balance combination, you're going to be satiated, and you're not going to have those cravings. If I ever do have a craving for anything outside of my whole foods world, or if I'm like, oh, I want something sweet, I'll grab one of my Whole Foods desserts or sweets. But if I'm outside in the world, and let's say I'm out doing errands or whatever, and I am no longer satiated because I waited too long and I didn't bring snacks with me, I might have a thought of like the foods that I used to have before, but it is no longer a pulling thought. It doesn't pull me to want to go through a drive-through or go grab it. I know what I can grab outside in my world when I am running errands or whatever that is going to hold me over, or I wait until I come home. But that's when those foods, but you're so built into this life now that you know how you're going to feel. And it takes me back to the sweet potato fries day. I don't ever want to feel that sick again. I don't want to feel the inflammation that way. After we finished lunch, we were very satiated, and I was commenting to Jay that it is so nice to be satiated but not full, because when you're full, in an hour, you're hungry again. We are satiated but never uncomfortably full. And I don't know if that makes sense, but when you are living in this lifestyle, that's how it is. You're satiated. You don't want to eat more. If somebody offered you a cake, you would be like, no, I'm good, because you are just this comfortable feeling of I'm good. And you're not going to be hungry in an hour. Satiation means that you're going to stay in a constant state of satiation, and you're going to be able to wait until you feed yourself next. And it's not going to be an hour later, like when we used to go eat Chinese before, or sushi, and then you'd come out like stuffed and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to open my button and I'm so full. That no longer happens. So I'm never uncomfortable in my pants. I'm never unbuttoning my jeans. That is something that I had never experienced before. And I wish I could share it with everybody, because the only thing that I can do is share it with words. Does that feel the same way for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in the same thing. And even I used to crave like stuff a lot, and maybe if I'm walking by something, I'll smell it and I'll be like, oh, that seems good, but immediately my thought is, but I don't want to eat that, right? I like the smell or whatever, so I come to her and I'm like, how could we make a black bean burrito or taco or something like that? And we make it in a Whole Foods way, and it satisfies the craving, and it didn't kill me.
And it usually ends up being better. Like, he had a craving for burritos, and I did too when we were on vacation recently. And we kept talking burritos, and the burritos were not going away.
We had burritos on our mind.
So we got in the car, and we went to Sprouts, and we scoured Sprouts for a tortilla that was Whole Foods as we could find it, so we didn't have to make our own tortilla. And we bought, black olives, black beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, corn, arugula, kale, spinach. I mean, everything that we could think of that we could pile into this burrito. And he specifically said, I want it crunchy. I just wanted a burrito. And he's like, I want one of those crunchy ones that you like put on the griddle, and you make it crunchy on both sides, and when you're eating it, it's like crunch factor. He wanted something crunchy. And so we made it, and it ended up, and we made a soy yogurt hot sauce for it, and we ate them, and it was more satisfying than if we had gone to Chipotle or something, because we had way more ingredients in there than what we could have done at Chipotle. And then we ended up having so many leftovers that we ended up using them for other things. And then we ended up having burritos for breakfast because we loved them so much. So you can make it whatever you want to, and you can pile it in there with as much. One of our favorite things is pizza now. We don't even like pizza at restaurants. I would much prefer spending 15 minutes making our pizzas at home, because they don't take any more than 15 minutes. And once you load them all up and stick them in the oven, I think it might take 15 minutes to toast them up in the oven, but they hold really well. And you pile them up with so many delicious yummies, and you can make them in all different flavors. So you can even make, I don't know if you guys are familiar with California Pizza Kitchen, but some of my favorite pizzas were California Pizza Kitchen, because they had these gourmet type pizzas that were like Thai pizza and Mediterranean pizza, and they had a BLT pizza that he used to love. So we make all those things, but we make it at home. And so if we're having a fried rice, instead of having the chicken in it or shrimp in it, it's going to have edamame in it for the protein. It's going to have tofu in it for the protein, but we're going to overload it in veggies. So it's going to be a fried rice on steroids, and we might even put pineapple in it and put fruit in it. So I might make a pineapple fried rice, and one day we might make it regular fried rice, like Chinese fried rice, and another day we might make it with Thai basil and give it that flavoring. Pad Thai, you know, we love Pad Thai, so we'll make peanut Pad Thai at home, and instead of the chicken, we will put the tofu or edamame or another bean. You can make, so another thing that we were talking about on the chat group the other day is substitute. Google substitutions. If you're baking or cooking any family recipes and you want to make a muffin that was grandma's muffin recipe, just Google substitutions for the egg, how to make an egg, because you can make eggs with flax meal. You can use flax meal to make a gelatinous egg that becomes a binder in cookie or muffin recipes. You can also Google substitutions for oil and butter and sugars. So my substitutions are mashed bananas, mashed fruit, purees, applesauce, almond butter, nut butters will be my substitutions for oils. But sometimes I don't like to do it. It's 1 for 1. But sometimes I don't like to do it 1 for 1. So if I need 1 cup of butter, I will substitute it for 1 cup of bananas. Or 1 cup, yeah, I know. Or some recipes did, like cookies and stuff.
That's a cup of heart attack.
Yeah. So 1 cup of, let's say, half a cup of oil. I would do a 1/4 cup of the almond butter and a 1/4 cup of banana. So you can do it that way too. If you don't want to use so many of the saturated fats that nut butters have, which they do have, if you're trying to lose weight, you need to watch the plant saturated fats. It doesn't mean that you have to sit there and count them and track them, but it means you need to be, you know, you can't be having avocado toast every day, and you can't be putting, you know, almond butter and nut butters, pumpkin butter and peanut butter as substitution for all your oils every single day. So it's not like you're taking peanut butter and oils to be making, you know, fried rices and this and that. No, there are other ways to cook without oil. We do water and aquafaba, and veggie broth is our substitution for sauteing. And I've shown my videos where the trick to that is small drizzles, tiny small drizzles, and your food won't stick. Get yourself very good non-stick pans and use veggie broth or water or aquafaba. When you start sauteing the vegetables, you just start with a tiny bit. You let the vegetables stick a little bit, and then you stir them around, add tiny drizzles of water. When you see that they're getting caramelized and a little golden, you're doing it right. But you don't need that oil. In the beginning, I'm such a cook that in the beginning I was like, how am I going to cook without oil? It can be done. You can bake without the eggs. You can bake without the fat in your recipes. So Google for substitutions. We don't have, another question that a lot of people say is, do you have dairy? Do you have cheese? Oh my gosh, I can't leave dairy. I can't leave cheese. But I would say this, even in a whole food plant-based diet or lifestyle, you don't want to be substituting for vegan cheeses and vegan dairy products.
Why not?
Because they're completely loaded in saturated fat, and they have a lot of added ingredients that are not whole food. So they're going to, I, for example, had a lot of reflux before we started this lifestyle, and I did not know that I was dairy intolerant. And I had had reflux for years. I think almost 8 years or so I had been off and on, and in the last couple of years it had gotten really bad to the point where I was trying to use natural things. I used to use apple cider vinegar to curb my reflux. The doctor wanted me on Prilosec and whatever other pills, and I refused, and I kept, but what happened was I was a slave to my natural method of curbing my reflux. So I used to use apple cider vinegar pills, and so before we went to lunch, before we went to dinner, I would be taking some water and 5 to 6 apple cider vinegar pills. I was a slave to these pills every day. So if I had a pasta sauce, I was like, oh my gosh, don't let me forget to take my pills or I will have to sleep sitting up. So, and it helped, but it didn't completely eradicate it. And it never cured. Yeah, it didn't fix the issue and it didn't cure it.
It helped the symptom a little.
It helped the symptom after I'd eaten it.
And all these medicines.
Yes. And all the doctors kept telling me, don't have tomatoes. So they would, every time I would go in, they would say, don't have tomatoes. Next, they would be like, don't have red wine. That I remember one doctor gave me a very small list of the things I shouldn't have, but they never said, you know, it could be the saturated fats sitting in your belly and all the sad foods that you're eating and the dairy could be causing this. And so when we started this lifestyle and we cut out the dairy and the cheeses and all of that, suddenly I was not having reflux and I was sleeping through the night. And then on top of it, you know, my sister was having me have soy 1 to 2 times a day. And suddenly my hot flashes went away. And then my sleepless nights of, you know, perimenopause and menopause, like all the symptoms that I was having went away. So, it is something that if you're hesitant because you're a lover of cheeses and all that stuff, there are things like, for example, on our pizza, we focus so much on the flavor that we don't even miss that cheese isn't there. Your pizza, what's your favorite pizza? Because he was the cheese man lover pizza.
Yeah. The beef lovers pizza or meat lovers pizza, that was mine.
And so what do you do now?
So, well, I love the Thai pizza. It has that little peanut sauce on it with carrot edamame. I love that one. And we got that new spice now that does kind of mimic the flavor of pepperoni a little bit. It's a whole food spice with no meat in it. And we've only had that once so far, but that was delicious.
Well, before we had that spice.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
What did we put on there? I don't know. We put so many things on there.
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
Black olives. The crumbled tofu that we made into. So we take crumbled tofu and we crumble it and we put either Mexican flavoring or Italian flavoring, depending on if we want to make a Mexican pizza, we'll mix it with Mexican flavors. If we want to make an Italian type pizza for him, we'll take the tofu, crumble it, and mix it with Italian seasonings. And then we load an entire block of tofu that's been crumbled with all those spices. We put Nooch. So if you put Nooch on top, you can even make a Nooch Parmesan that is with crumbled cashews, Nooch, and spices, and it mimics Parmesan. So for those of you that are really missing the cheese, you can do certain things to mimic those things. But the sauces and the things that you're going to put on your pizza are going to load it so much that you're not necessarily going to notice that the cheese is gone. For us, it has become a non-issue. It's not a thing where we're like, oh, I miss cheese. I really don't.
I really don't either.
And I think for me, it's easier for some subjects. For him, if we were to walk by like a barbecue place or something, he might be like, that smells good. But then
not enough to eat it anymore. Not enough to eat it. So I'm too healthy now, and I don't want to go back to that. So simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. That once you are feeling good, it's not about looking good. It's about feeling good inside. You really do feel so healthy, and all the issues that were plaguing us are gone. You don't want to jeopardize that. And I particularly did not want the feeling that reflux and my tummy issues and my gastro issues were always giving me. And, going out to eat and eating these foods and always having some repercussion from it, whether it was inflammation or the reflux or gastro issues, I don't want that anymore. I feel too good inside. Plus, it all becomes this living circle. Then you work on your body and you're losing the weight, and then you're toning. So it's a health journey. We're still in it, and we are now working towards toning. We keep on doing weightlifting and exercising, and we're working towards toning, and our focus now has become getting into old age with energy and being able to do, you know, if we ever have grandkids come along, having the energy for the grandkids and being able to get on the floor with them. I couldn't even pack a suitcase on the floor without having joint pains in my hips. And you know, when I would go to, for example, this is one of the things that I noticed particularly for me. I think for you too, but let me say it and you tell me if it happened to you too. We would go to a restaurant and we would sit there with just ourselves or friends, and then you're sitting there, and after 2 hours of sitting there having a meal with people and visiting, I would go get up to go to the restroom, and I would have to pretend I didn't feel like I was 100 while my muscles and my joints caught up with me. And you get up out of that booth and you're kind of like, I look ridiculous because I can't move. I'm all stiff. That was happening to me. Was it happening to you?
Same thing.
Okay. That doesn't happen anymore. We can jump out of bed with energy in the morning. We can go to a restaurant, sit there for 2 hours. We're not stiff. Yesterday, we did our workout at the pool. We did our weights. We did all our workout. And after that, we ran to Home Depot. We did a ton of yard work, cleanup. Then we ran back, but to Lowe's, and we bought 40 bags of mulch, loaded them into the car. Jay did most of the loading on that one. But then when we got home, we unloaded 40 bags of mulch on our shoulder, walking them through the yard, laying them on all our circles so that we can then do them. And I had done those same things in the past when we were not in shape, but I suffered through it. That's the difference now. I suffered through it. And at night, I would be taking...
for days afterwards.
Yep, and I was in pain afterwards. I was taking ibuprofen. That night when we showered, my joints and my hips would be in pain. My pain would be screaming from the sciatica. And I was none of that today, none of that last night. Didn't have to take ibuprofen, and I felt refreshed and energized. That is what I want to share with you guys. That is what I want you guys to feel. That is what the difference is between a sad life and a health journey where you're working towards optimizing. So I'm going to leave you guys because our trip is over. But if you have any questions, put them in the bottom and I can answer them. But I think I've answered all the things that people always tend to ask me. Is there anything else you can think of?
Yeah. Bye, foodies. Happy day.
Happy day. Happy day. Bye. Have a happy week.